Under the dazzling night sky, thousands of people stood, waiting for the familiar, gentle voice. The night was supposed to celebrate the success of Ziyu's grand tour, a long journey that had brought her to the pinnacle of fame. But no one expected that the grand, applauding stage would be the scene of one of the most emotional confessions of her life. Ziyu appeared in a simple white shirt, without any flashy accessories. She stood center stage with an acoustic guitar in her hand. Her smile was serene, but behind her clear eyes, there was a shadow that no one but herself could fathom. As the soft intro of "You Were My Once" began to play, the atmosphere suddenly turned silent. The audience knew this was no ordinary song, but a memory condensed into a melody. The song was a wistful ballad Ziyu had written a few months after rumors of her breakup spread. But the public only assumed it was a creative outlet, not a genuine wound. Little did they know that each lyric contained fragments of a once deep love. And that night, the lyrics felt heavier, more real, as if she were singing them not for the audience, but for someone no longer by her side. When the second verse ended, her voice began to tremble. The large camera focused on her face, unable to hide anything. Instead of cheers, there was a questioning silence. Then, during a brief pause before the final chorus, her lips trembled, and in a voice barely above a whisper, she uttered a name: Tian Xuning. For a moment, the world seemed to stop spinning. The audience turned to each other, shocked. It wasn't an unfamiliar name. It was the name of a man who used to be always backstage, providing laughter, hugs, and a warmth never posted on social media, but felt by everyone who saw them together. Tian Xuning was someone who used to be present at every concert, giving Ziyu a small pat on the back before she stepped on stage, as if to say, "I'm here." But their relationship was never officially revealed. Only rumors, gossip, and speculation, all shrouded in smiles and silence. Their separation happened quietly, without an official statement, without public drama. Suddenly, Tian was nowhere to be seen. Fans suspected the relationship had ended due to industry pressures and expectations that left no room for tender, yet fragile love. But the whisper of that name, that night, was proof that not all love can truly end simply because time forces forgetting. Sometimes love lingers, even when a presence is no longer there. After saying that name, Ziyu lowered her head. The guitar in her hands fell silent. Her shoulders trembled subtly, as if she were trying to hold on to something she had held back for too long. The audience, initially shocked, now felt something else: empathy. They were not witnessing an idol, but a human being struggling not to collapse before the world. The stage lights suddenly dimmed, leaving a soft glow around her. She sang the chorus again, but this time each word sounded like a plea. "You were my once, but maybe never again." Her voice broke, not from technical error, but from the rawness of her feelings. Meanwhile, the cameras, panning to the audience's faces, showed tears falling without permission. There is beauty in genuine sadness, and that night, everyone felt it. They realized they weren't watching a concert, they were watching a heart slowly shatter. Some began to speculate. Did Tian Xuning hear that moment? Was he watching from a distance, holding his own chest, which might have been shaking as well? No one knew. There was no statement, just a long, heavy silence. After the song ended, the stage was silent for a few seconds that felt like an eternity. Then, in a very soft voice, Ziyu finally said, "I hope you hear it. I'm not angry. I just haven't finished missing you yet." And the tears fell. Not hysterical tears, but the tears of someone who has finally stopped fighting their own feelings. The audience didn't scream, didn't cheer. They simply stood, allowing the moment to be as it was. A tribute to a rare honesty. That night, video footage of the concert spread across the internet. Many people claimed to feel a pain that wasn't even their own. The song exploded on the digital charts, not because of the promotional campaign, but because people wanted to understand how a single name could change an entire atmosphere. You Were My Once became more than just a heartbreak song, but a reminder that love once so real leaves traces that don't easily disappear. Sometimes we can't go back. Sometimes all that remains are memories, standing like silhouettes in the distance. But in that moment, there was something beautiful, honesty that finally found its way out. And while that love may not have been returned, it had been acknowledged, cherished, and allowed to live one last time on that stage. Meanwhile, rumors circulated that Tian Xuning was present at the concert, but in the crowd, far from the spotlight. No one could confirm this, as there were no photos, no proof. But some audience members claimed to have seen a figure wearing a long black coat, standing motionless, staring at the stage without blinking throughout the song. If that were true, then that night wasn't just one-sided regret. It was two hearts listening to each other, without words, without meeting. A few days later, Ziyu didn't release any official statement. No clarification, no defense, no explanation. She chose to remain silent, not to escape, but perhaps because she knew that love doesn't always require explanation to the world. There are feelings that can only be understood by two people who have held each other in silence. In a brief interview, she simply said, "Some things are left to remain beautiful in memories." And so, this story has no definitive ending. No reunion announced, no final goodbye affirmed. All that remains is one song, one name uttered with a trembling voice, and one unforgettable night. Perhaps their love wasn't completely over, or perhaps it will only live on as a tender memory. But for the millions who witnessed it, that moment was enough to remind us that true love, even if it can no longer be had, is still worth preserving. And that night became a legend, not because of the stage effects, not because of the camera flashes, but because of a name spoken with a love that no longer had a place to return. Because sometimes the most painful thing about love isn't separation, but the fact that we still love, even though we know the world no longer allows us to be together. And that name, Tian Xuning, will always be part of a song that will never truly be finished.